Understanding Italian pronunciation becomes much easier when you can observe it used in real moments rather than just studying it in theory. So today we're going to look at a clip with the world famous British actor Colin Firth at an award ceremony in Venice. Now, Colin Firth was actually married to an Italian woman for about 20 years and he even obtained Italian citizenship. And if you are a Jane Austen fan like myself, you probably know him best from his role as Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice. In this clip from the 2009 Venice Film Festival, he received the 𝗂𝗵𝗫 for Best Actor and gave most of his acceptance speech in Italian, which is pretty impressive. So let's see how Colin Firth speaks Italian.
Questo paese mi ha inondato dei regali con gli anni, mi ha dato oltre la cultura, oltre la letteratura, la grande cinema, l'arte, la cucina, i vini, la grappa, mi ha dato anche una moglie.
Okay, the first comment I want to make is that Colin Firth has really a good Italian. He is able to make most of his speech of acceptance speech in Italian, and you can definitely tell he has been studying and practicing Italian for many years. So bravo, Colin. Now, what I also notice are a few pronunciation imperfections that are typical for English native speakers. So this is why I want to point them out so they can be helpful for you too. Now, the first imperfection, the first mistake is this. He's saying the word flooded in Italian, which is inondato, inondato. But the way he's saying that is with an U instead of an O. So it sounds like this, inundato. Now, this is a very common mistake for English native speakers. Why? Because in English, oftentimes when you have an O, you pronounce that with a U sound, like oh, oh. So, of course, these can get confused when pronouncing Italian vowels. But in Italian, they are two distinct separate vowels. They are never pronounced in a similar way. So, when you have an O, it's O, no U sound. And when you have an U, it's just U. So in this case, since the correct word is inondato with an O, you need to make sure to pronounce the O correctly. Inondato. Okay. Similar mistake is with this other word. This in Italian is letteratura. Letteratura. But what Colin is doing here is that he's pronouncing the E as an E, which is how you say this word in English, because you say literature. So it's so easy to go to the English pronunciation. But again, the problem is that, so he's saying this, and that's not correct. So the problem here is that in English, this vowel is pronounced as E, but in Italian, that never happens, always pronounced as E. So remember, the correct pronunciation is letteratura, letteratura. Perfetto. And again, another similar issue that comes from confusion, of course, between English pronunciation and Italian pronunciation is with two more words he's saying. He's saying these two words, cinema and cucina, but it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like he's saying cinema, so he has an S in front of a C, and another S in front of the C in cucina. So it sounds like he's saying cinema and cucina. Those are both wrong in Italian. So let's remove the S's. Why that's wrong? Because when in Italian you have a C followed by an I, that's always a soft C sound that's pronounced as ch in church. So it's chi, chi, chi. There's no S there. If we had an S sound there, we would spell it. Since you don't see an S, don't pronounce an S. It's just chi, cinema and cucina. Va bene? Perfetto. Now, I also want to point out what he's doing right, which is a lot. He's speaking in Italian, so bravo. He says many other words correctly, he articulates double consonants correctly. I can tell the difference, and that's very important. So, for example, he says words like anni with two N's correctly. He also says arte, so with a very good R sound. And also, when he says the words like grappa and letteratura, which we already saw, um, he does articulate the double consonants correctly. How does he do that? By keeping the consonant for longer. That's how you make double consonant sound correctly in Italian. So he correctly says anni by elongating the N sound. Anni. He correctly says grappa, grappa. And that makes everything laugh. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And he says that correctly. And then he says letteratura, letteratura, because we have two T's. So, molto bene. Okay, now I want you to listen to Colin again so you can notice what he's doing right and where he's making a few mistakes. Va bene? Andiamo.
Questo paese mi ha inondato dei regali con gli anni, mi ha dato oltre la cultura, oltre la letteratura, la grande cinema, l'arte, la cucina, i vini, la grappa, mi ha dato anche una moglie.
Okay, I hope now you could hear the difference between Italian pronunciation and how he's pronouncing some words, but also what he was doing right. By the way, if you also have trouble with some of these pronunciation points in Italian, I actually have a dedicated online course that covers them all. It's dedicated to correct Italian pronunciation and helps you with things like correct vowel pronunciation, correct consonant pronunciation, especially for those tricky consonant combinations like sh or ñ or l. All these issues are typical when learning Italian pronunciation, and I go through all of them in my online course. So if this is something that may help you, you will find the link to the course in the description below this video. And if you click on the link, you will find all the information about the course and also a few free lessons for you to try. Ok, torniamo a Colin Firth. There's something else I want you to notice about his speech. One tiny mistake that doesn't have to do with pronunciation, but with grammar. But before that, I want to uh, spend a second about the grappa. Grappa is a typical Italian liquor. It's very strong, and so probably that's what made people laugh because he's thankful for grappa. So probably he really enjoys that, and people were really amused by this recognition of our grappa. That's it. Okay, something else I wanted to point out from this part of the clip is a tiny grammar mistake, not a pronunciation mistake, but it is so common that I want you to notice this. He says this, la cinema. And I know that for many Italian learners, this will not look like a mistake because cinema ends in a, therefore must be feminine, so we use la, the feminine article. Problem is that's not correct. Cinema is actually a masculine word. So the correct way to say this is il cinema. And I feel like I can hear you now and saying like, Valentina, how is that possible? Why? Well, for this thing at least, and there is an explanation, and I'm going to explain this so that you can remember. The reason is that cinema is the shortened form for the original word, which was this, cinematographo. And this is an extremely old Italian word. And I think many people, Italian younger people nowadays don't even know that cinema comes from cinematographo. But I can still remember my grandfather saying il cinematografo instead of il cinema. So that's where it comes from. The original word was masculine. Can you see that it ends in o? Masculine. So nowadays, no one says vado al cinematografo. We all say vado al cinema, but that's why cinema is masculine. I hope, as always, that explaining the why of the whys of things in Italian, this will help it stick in your memory. So remember il cinema. Okay, now I want to go back to Colin Firth and the second part of his speech.
Mi date anche una moglie bellissima e due bambini meravigliosi. E per quello stare qui con questo regalo in mano, qui in questo paese, forse è l'onore più grande della mia vita. Sono qui per il regalo che mi ha dato Tom Ford. Mi ha dato la sua fiducia, non in senso come non come un accordo professionale, ma proprio lui aveva una cosa molto, molto personale, molto prezioso, molto importante per lui, l'ha messa nei miei mani e quindi è diventato personale, importante, prezioso anche per me, è una cosa da tenere per sempre.
Okay, again, I'm really impressed by Colin Firth speaking Italian. He definitely can speak Italian. You can tell he has been working on his Italian for a long time, has been practicing a lot, because having most of his speech in Italian is pretty impressive. And I'm sure has made a lot of Italian people very happy and proud when he accepted his his award in Italian. So I only want to point out a few more actually tiny grammar mistakes, because I want you to learn from him. Okay, but first I actually have something I want you to notice about his pronunciation, which was very good in one specific point that always tricks English native speakers, and that's this word. Oops. The word for professional in Italian, which is correctly pronounced as professionale in Italian. Professionale. Now, this is another common mistake for English native speakers, because when you have two S's in English, you often pronounce them as sh, so professional. But in Italian, that doesn't happen. As I always explain, when you have a double consonant sound, the sound of the consonant stays the same, you just keep it for longer. So in Italian, this is pronounced as s. And when you have two of them, you just keep it for longer. S. So this is professionale. Professionale. Bravo, Colin, for doing that. Now, the two couple of tiny grammar mistakes I wanted you to notice are these. When he's saying, he gave me something very precious, he says, molto prezioso. Now, in this case, using prezioso is wrong. He should have used preziosa, because he's referring to something, qualcosa or una cosa. So una cosa is feminine. So anything you say relating to una cosa must be feminine. So he says it should have been said una cosa molto preziosa. Another similar mistake is with money. Now, I know that money is a tricky word because it's an irregular word. That's the word for hand. The singular is mano, and it's feminine, la mano. And the plural stays feminine and ends in I, mani, le mani. So he says, he put that in my hands or something like that. So he says I miei mani. But i miei mani is wrong because mani is feminine. So the correct way to say that would be le mie mani. Le mie mani. That's how we say my hands in Italian. But other than that, I don't have much to say about his speech, which was great. So let's listen to this part of the speech again so you can notice those tiny things I want you to notice. Andiamo.
Mi date anche una moglie bellissima e due bambini meravigliosi. E per quello stare qui con questo regalo in mano, qui in questo paese, forse è l'onore più grande della mia vita. Sono qui per il regalo che mi ha dato Tom Ford. mi ha dato la sua fiducia, non in senso come non come un accordo professionale, ma proprio lui aveva una cosa molto, molto personale, molto prezioso, molto importante per lui, l'ha messa nei miei mani e quindi è diventato personale, importante, prezioso anche per me, è una cosa da tenere per sempre.
Okay, bravissimo Colin Firth. We saw just a few things that it's good to know and work on, but what I want to really stress is that the most important thing which Colin is doing is trying and speaking and using your Italian. So great Italian, great speech, and can I say that it was molto emozionante seeing Mr. Darcy speaking Italian. That was great for me. So I hope it was helpful. Today's video was helpful for you. And if you need more help with your pronunciation, please check out my program. You will find the link in the description below this video. And I will see you in the next one. Ci vediamo al prossimo video. Ciao ciao!